Hello everyone and welcome back to the Great Book of Grudges. My name is Nathan and we're back with another Total War Warhammer video. Today's topic are the missing units, lords, heroes and legendary characters for the High Elves, so without further ado, let's begin. Having recently received a DLC lately in the form of the Shadow and the Blade, the High Elves are one of those races and factions that can be considered near enough complete, especially when comparing them to their 8th edition Warhammer Fantasy Army book standard. That being said, there are a few iconic characters and units currently missing from their roster, and we're going to check them out now. Firstly, we have the Laufen Skycutter. A rather iconic unit, especially by 8th edition standards, and it's honestly really surprising that it's still not been implemented into the Total War Warhammer series. The Laufen Skycutter is an airborne chariot, held up in the sky by the winds of magic, but also manned by a crew of Laufen Sea Guard and a Great Eagle. In terms of stats, the chariot itself would be very similar to any other chariot, but what really sets it apart from any other chariot is the fact that it's a flying unit, making it extremely mobile and thus much more of a threat to its enemy. There were two different variants on the tabletop, so it could be possible that we could see them both. The first is your generic Skycutter, which has a small crew of Laufen Sea Guard mounted upon it. This would be the variant which would be considered closer to a true chariot, as it would have your basic range but also spear units on it. The second variant would have an eagle eye bolt thrower attached to it. So here, not only would you have a chariot with an attached bolt thrower, but also making it a flying unit. I understand that many can consider the Skycutter itself a bit overpowered, but remember that it's still a flying unit, so eventually it would have to land if everything else has been destroyed. And let's be perfectly honest, this is one of the coolest models ever, so yeah, this needs to be in Total War Warhammer. Next we have the Mer Worm, one of the most ancient creatures to be found within the oceans of the Warhammer fantasy world. These ancient beasts have formed some sort of bond with the Asur, the High Elves, and they have been called into battle many times. Unlike the many beasts of the seas in the Warhammer fantasy world, the Mer Worm is perfectly capable of surviving on land, as it is not completely aquatic. These hulking monsters are incredibly fast, resistant to most normal forms of damage, and incredibly powerful, making them an absolute terror on the battlefield. It's rather surprising that we've still not seen the Mer Worm as a playable unit, considering that during the Vampire Coast DLC, art assets were created for them and they were a main focus on that DLC itself, with the Mer Worm Aminar being your target when playing as one of the Vampire Coast DLC characters. Honestly, the only reason I can see this not being implemented is the fact that the Vampire Coast DLC seems to scale them up to be much larger than they were in lore, as Aminar himself seems to be much larger than even the biggest known battleships. But they could easily work around that and just say that Aminar himself was just abnormally large. Unfortunately, that's pretty much it in terms of units. Like I said before, the High Elves are essentially complete, but now let's look towards the generic Lord and Hero choices before moving on towards legendary characters. First, we have the Dragon Mages as a hero choice, and yes, I am aware that now mages of the Lore of Fire are able to ride atop of dragons, but there is still a difference. What sets apart the Dragon Mage to the Mage is not just the fact of the Dragon Mount, whilst that is a very big factor, it's also that the Dragon Mages also wore very heavy armor. Dragon Mages of Caledor would also wear dragon armor, same as the Dragon Princes do, meaning that they would be a bit more viable within the front line of your army. Yes, this is a very minor distinction, but they would look very visually distinct as standard mages. After all, it is important to note that mages and dragon mages were both two separate entities in the Warhammer Fantasy 8th edition army book for the High Elves. Next, we have the Anointed of Sauron, a melee-based combat character that fights with a halberd. What really sets the Anointed of Sauron apart from, say for example, the Noble or the Prince, is the fact that the Anointed of Sauron has rather unique mount options, that of either a Flame Spire or Frostheart Phoenix. Who better to lead an army of Phoenix Guard than an Anointed of Sauron? And lastly, for a generic Lord or Hero choice, we have the Laufen Sea Helm, a multi-purpose character decent in melee combat, ranged combat, and also being able to act as a battle standard bearer, meaning it should be able to buff up units, especially in forms of leadership, extra attacks, speed, and so on. Should the Skycutter also be added into the Total War Warhammer series, the Skycutter would also be a viable mount option for the Laufen Sea Helm. But with that, we've checked over the remaining possible Lord and Hero choices in the generic format. Now let's start looking towards the named characters. First, we have Corhill Lionmane, the captain of the White Lions. Corhill is very physically strong, with many elves saying that he may be the strongest of their kind. He is young, even by elven standards, but no less respected. Corhill himself would be the perfect character to lead the Kingdom of Thrace, but unfortunately I don't think that we'd be able to see him as a legendary lord character, mainly because we do do have a unique white lion already, known as Alistair. So Alistair was implemented, I believe, because of a Make-A-Wish Foundation wish, and to be honest, it wouldn't make too much sense to have two white lion characters. Maybe a good ultimatum here would be to move Alistair from unique lord status to legendary lord status and have him as the faction leader for the Kingdom of Thrace. It's not Core Hill, yes, but this was for a good cause, so at the end of the day, this is something that I think everyone's kinda okay with. And lastly, we have Carrion, the captain of the Phoenix Guard. Many would attribute this character to be very much the same to other Anointed of Sauron. Carrion is a very competent melee-based character that also rides atop of a Frostheart Phoenix. But what really sets him apart from the Anointed of Sauron is his famed weapon, the Phoenix Blade, which makes him stronger than the average elf and gives him access to flaming attacks. A way to translate this into Total War Warhammer could be that all of the Phoenix Guard in his own personal army could have access to flaming attacks. And considering his position within the end times where he becomes the incarnate of fire, it could be that he could also have access to the Lore of Fire spells, making him a very viable spellcaster in the Lore of Fire, which is also very good in melee combat. Honestly, I'd like to see a system very similar to how Azag unlocked the Lore of Death, where he would only get access to those spells after reaching a certain level and doing a few separate missions. Maybe Carrion can do something similar? Something like that would give you incentive to actively level up the character and try and seek out whatever item he would need to get to be able to unlock the spells. But with that, we've checked out what I believe to be the missing units, lords, heroes and legendary characters for the High Elves. Really, this is going to be a shorter video than usual, mainly because, well, yeah, the High Elves are pretty much done. They've got a massive variety in terms of units, characters and so on. That being said, if there are any that you believe I've missed, let me know your thoughts in the comments below and we'll start a bit of a discussion, shall we? But with that, my friends, we've come to the end of our video. Thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy the video, might I suggest giving the video a like, or even subscribing to the channel, as it really does help us out. In the description section below, we have various different social media links such as Facebook, Instagram and Discord, where you can get in contact with the Great Book team, talk to us about Total War, Warhammer, or just anything really. Also in the description section below is an affiliate link with Element Games, where you could get loads of hobby-based products, not just Warhammer, for 10 to 25% off. Purchasing using this link and also using our special code, which is also in the description, supports the channel at no extra cost to you, which we think is rather cool. A big thank you to our patrons, your support means the world to us. Honestly, it's amazing that people want to help a small channel like us grow and get to a higher level of content. A special thank you to our patrons Gibraltar LUSC and Ryan Bertsche for subscribing to us at our Fane level. Honestly, you guys are super cool. And a big thank you to all of you for liking, sharing and commenting on these videos. Honestly, the channel's been growing a lot lately and it's all thanks to you guys. Without you, the Great Book would be nothing. We're trying to implement more videos into the channel soon, but we're getting stuff done outside of YouTube at the moment, just like artwork and so on for the channel. It's just taking a little while to get everything to look to a standard that we feel is cool. Honestly guys, thank you so much for all the support lately, it's been amazing. But with that, my friends, thank you so much for watching once again, and we shall see you all again very, very soon. Have a good day.